Hello and welcome to another episode of Toothless MMA Radio Series Quick Hitters. I'm your host, John Galloway. Today, as we look at the world of combat sports, I'll be joined by my guest, Raquel Pennington. Raquel, how's it going today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Very good. Raquel, a lot of people came to see you and know you when you first came onto the scene with The Ultimate Fighter. So let's start off there. Were you happy with the way that you came off on The Ultimate Fighter, or were you surprised at how the show was edited? Tell me a little bit about your experience there.
I think overall The Ultimate Fighter was great. It was great exposure for all of us, especially starting out and kicking off the 135-pound division for the women. As far as me, I think I was pretty much portrayed as myself and everything. I think the only difference that could have been is I don't think they should have really focused on the whole fact of me being a gay athlete so much. I know that they want to inspire people and everything and to be able to be themselves and whatnot, but I don't think every episode that it kind of focused around me or talked about me, I don't think it should have been something that just was constantly brought up. But other than that, I was fine with it.
Okay. I totally agree with you on that. I'm one of these people that I feel like it's really not an issue because, in the nicest sense, I don't care. I don't think it's a big deal either way. So I totally understand where you're coming from. Let me ask you this:
yeah.
Going into filming, you were told that the coaches were going to be Ronda Rousey and Kat Zingano. Looking at that, was there a coach that you were like, "That's who I want to train with"?
I think with the fact that it would have been Kat Zingano or Ronda, it would have been kind of cool. I think if those were the coaches, I would have wanted to be more on Ronda's team, just given the fact that she's somebody that's in another state that I wouldn't be able to train with all the time or whatnot. And Kat at that point in time was living in Colorado and stuff, and so if I wanted to, I could have went up and trained with her and whatnot. But then at the same token, it was just like, all right, we can have two females representing Colorado, so that be on her team. But my main goal was just to get on the show and pretty much focus on what I needed to focus on, make my dream come true, and really just trying to win that spot into the UFC and stuff,
Right. Now, what were your thoughts on possibly training with Kat, having fought her previously? Was there trepidation? Was there nervousness? Or was the fight in the past and you were just moving forward?
I think it kind of throws people off because it's such a competitive sport and everything, but with the women, it's like we're all pretty much friends on the outside of it, and then when it comes to business, it's business in the cage. So as far as being on Kat's team and everything, it wouldn't bother me. If me and Kat were to ever rematch again and stuff, it would be great. But, the same thing with, Misha or any other girl. Eventually, because the 135-pound division is so small right now that eventually we're all going to fight each other. So it's just we make great training partners for each other, but then we're also each other's opponents. So it wouldn't really matter to me. I've trained with some of my opponents, and some of my potential opponents we would train, and then I think 4 or 5 months later we ended up fighting each other. So it's just been kind of a thing that it really doesn't bother me.
Okay. Now, once you found out that Misha was taking Kat's spot, did that change the way that you felt about going into the season?
No, actually, I thought it was pretty cool. I was a little surprised to see Misha there, but I thought it was awesome just because, you got both those girls, which are kind of like your face of women's MMA, and then, of course, all their drama between them and stuff, it would really hype up the show. But as the show went on, the drama between the two of them and stuff, it just kind of became overwhelming, and it was just something that just became more annoying than anything.
Really?
Yeah, but, as far as the coaching and stuff, I think it was awesome. It was awesome getting to meet both Ronda and Misha, and, being coached by Misha and stuff. It was fun. She has a lot of the same mentality that I do, so it worked out, and being taken out of your comfort zone and being put into something that's just totally different. It was kind of cool actually meeting somebody who's a lot like you, which made it a comfortable environment.
Now, I'm glad that you went there talking about training with Misha, because I was actually going to ask you, How was the level of training that you received? Was it more or less than what you were hoping for?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it was kind of, I didn't really have an expectation. I knew overall the Ultimate Fighter, just because of the time period when you're filming and stuff, I knew it was going to be something hard. But as far as the training and everything, I guess I was just more curious to see how other fighters are, how they prepare, how they train, different things like that, to kind of see where everybody stands and stuff. And I mean, it was pretty much the same type of training that I do back home, so it kind of just fit with everything for me.
All right, now
I think as far as like the strength and conditioning go, like I go way more intense on strength and conditioning and things like that, and so it was just, I mean, it was different. It's fun to mix it up and try different types of training and stuff.
Now, do you think that the fact that it was a little bit easier in the strength and conditioning fell into the schedule of the fights, how they were pretty frequent, or do you think that was just a matter of how they train?
It was just how they train.
Okay. Now, unfortunately, you didn't make it to the finale. You were one fight off. You lost to Jessica Rakosi in the final fight of the season. But at the finale, you did fight, and you fought and defeated Roxanne Modafferi. What was that like to get your first official UFC victory?
You know, it was awesome. I mean, it's pretty much everybody's dream come true to make it that far. I mean, that's the biggest stage that you can go with MMA. And I remember 7.5 years ago when I first started the sport, I joked around. Well, my team took it as a joke, but I told them, I was like, I'm going to be one of the first women into the UFC. And my coach was laughing at me and stuff, and I was like, you think I'm kidding? Like, this is going to happen. I don't know how, but it's going to happen. And then to just watch how much I've grown and everything, and actually take that step and pretty much get my UFC contract and stuff, I mean, it was a great accomplishment. It was kind of exciting to go from being on the Ultimate Fighter to where you're in a gym fighting in front of 20 people, and then you go into a crowd of like thousands. It was definitely a different type of rush.
Now, your last fight was a split decision loss to Jessica Andrade. Now, did you feel you had that fight won going into the judge's announcement?
You know, I did. I thought that I did enough to actually win it, but I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from Jessica, and that's what happens exactly when you go and you leave it into the hands of the judges, you know? I mean, I knew that I should have done more, and I was a little frustrated with myself in that fight because it's just like, in the third round is when I felt like I really stepped it up. So I don't know what I was doing. I mean, I had one of the best fight camps that you can possibly think of, and it just felt like everything was going right. And then when it came to the fight, like, I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. My emotions are really weird. And my coach was like, you feel confident? And I was like, why am I so calm? I should be freaking out right now. And then the fight started, and I just felt like I was in training, but it's just like I wouldn't step it up. And then I wasn't even tired after the fight is the part that disappointed me the most, because I didn't go out there and do all I had to do. So I think I beat myself more up on just my performance and everything, but as far as winning the fight, I felt like I did win it. And when I talked to Jessica and everything afterwards, and her coaches, they didn't feel like she really won it, but because the judges gave it to her, she said she would take it. So that's what happens, you know? I mean, it's a 50-50 chance when you step in that cage.
Sure. Now, where does that leave you in terms of your contract with the UFC? Do you have more fights on your contract?
Yeah, actually, they offered me a few fights in the beginning of this month, and then they offered me some fights in August. But, you know, I mean, I went pro in March of 2012, and literally I fought 6 fights in a 9-month period. That January, I was going to take a break, and then that's when I fought my old teammate, Leslie Smith. And it's just like, going into that fight, there was so much animosity between us and everything, which was just crazy because of the friendship that we had and stuff. And I had this huge adrenaline dump, and I got really frustrated with myself in that fight because I didn't box the way I wanted to. I didn't do anything. So then I went into training, like as soon as I got back home from Kansas, I started training in boxing just nonstop, running myself into the ground, and then I decided to do some professional boxing matches. Went into that, and then after my last professional boxing match, I was going to take that break, and then they announced that the 135-pound division was going to be on the Ultimate Fighter, so I started training for that. Went and did the tryouts, found out I made it, had to continue to train, went out, did the Ultimate Fighter. After the Ultimate Fighter, I literally just got 2 weeks off where I was kind of traveling but still going to gyms and doing some training. And then I came back, and I had the fight with Raquel. So then I fought, and Misha invited me out to Vegas, so I went out to Vegas the whole month of December and pretty much did a whole nother fight camp because I was training with her for hers. So, of course, it was training hard and everything. And then I got home, and I literally had 4 days off because I caught a cold, and they called me, and they offered me Jessica Andrade. So I took that fight, and then after that fight, I told them, you know, like, I've never once in my whole fight career turned down a fight. I've always accepted one, and it's been weird for me because I've turned down 3 fights already, but I told them I just needed a break. I mean, with this sport being all year round, you got to take them when you need them, and I've pretty much run myself into the ground. I was sustaining a lot of injuries and everything, and so it's just in break time, but we're actually looking it's pretty promising for the beginning of October, so that's when everybody will see me back in action.
Excellent. Well, we're looking forward to that. Now, since your last fight, you have been active in other areas, doing a lot of anti-bullying events, even teaching some women's self-defense courses. Why are these things so important to you? What is it about the anti-bullying, and doing the women's self-defense that really speaks to you?
You know, I grew up with friends who they were just constantly bullied, whether it was just because of the person that they were or, I mean, the lifestyle that they chose. I had so many friends that were gay, and a lot of people couldn't accept them and stuff, and just watching them every day and having to stand up for them, but just seeing how really down they got and the things they were doing to themselves. And then I lost a few friends who decided to commit suicide because of the bullying, and so that's one thing that like really hit home for me when I was able to be an ambassador for it, just trying to stand up against it. And then you know, I've done like some guest speaking and everything on that, and it's pretty much just things that's happened throughout my life that touched that spot for me.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a huge epidemic in this country. It's good to see people who have a public forum like you do trying to bring more awareness to it. At a few of those events, you've been associated with Rhonda and the 4 Horsewomen. Are you on your way to becoming the 5th?
You know, I'm just really good friends with them and stuff. Rhonda invited me out shortly after the Ultimate Fighter to go out there and live with her and do some training and stuff, just like Justin and Shayna did. But, I mean, as far as me, I pretty much like living in Colorado and having the high altitude training and being able to do that. And plus, I had a pretty good coach at the time. So I pretty much just wanted to stay here and just be able to do that and then travel back and forth and whatnot. But, I mean, we all have, like I said, we all have our friendships and stuff, and eventually we'll all probably fight each other, so, but
well,
I'll continue to do, like, the whole, we'll meet up in Vegas and do the meet and greets or whatever, but I won't go into the 5th, I guess.
All right. Well, there is one way for you to avoid fighting some of these women, and that would be dropping down in weight class. The upcoming season of The Ultimate Fighter is going to feature the women's strawweight division for the first time, and the first strawweight bout has actually already been booked and announced. Have you thought at all about dropping down to the lower weight class?
Yeah, no. I would have to cut off a leg if I wanted to get that low. I think the last time I was at 150 pounds was like 6th grade.
So that's a big resounding no then.
No, I'll definitely cheer them on. All the girls in that weight division are scrappy little chicks, and, I mean, this next season that's coming up is going to be freaking phenomenal just because of the talent that's on there. But as far as me, I mean, I walk on my off time, like right now. I mean, I'm walking at 160, and so it's just like to get that low. I mean, I already cut 17, 18 pounds as it is for when it comes to weight cuts and stuff, and, I mean, I'm sitting at 16% body fat, so right. I don't think it would be smart to go any lower.
Yeah, there's not much more there to cut out. Now,
No, I pretty much almost died when I went to 125 one fight.
well, let's not do that again. So we want to keep seeing you around here. Now, moving forward in your career,
Right?
what was that?
I said, right?
Yeah. Now, moving forward in your career, what are some areas that you would like to improve upon? You mentioned that when you felt like your boxing was a little off, you focused in on that. What areas are you looking to focus in on moving forward with a possible date coming up in October?
You know, MMA throws everything that you can possibly think at you. So I constantly focus on everything. There's not one specific area that I just sit there and concentrate on. I mean, of course, it'll be throughout the week breaking up days when you'll have your boxing, your Muay Thai, your wrestling, and you'll focus a little more on them. But for the most part, I just kind of put everything together and go from there. And I mean, being young and like in my time with the sport and stuff, I mean, I'm really just focusing on learning myself. I learned a lot about myself as a person and as an athlete on The Ultimate Fighter, and I continue to grow every day. So it's just like mental and things like that is what I'm pretty much growing on.
All right. Now, being a full-time fighter and a full-time being able to train full-time, clearly you have sponsors that are helping you out and people along the way.
Hello?
Any sponsors or anybody you'd like to talk about?
I think I lost you.
Are you? All right. Now, moving forward in your career, we were talking about moving forward as the areas that you'd like to improve upon right before we cut out there. So I just wanted to touch base on that. I know you said it was kind of focusing on everything at once, but was there any areas that in particular you were looking to focus on?
I mean, I'm constantly focused on everything, so it's just more for me. Like I was saying, I mean, on The Ultimate Fighter, I had a chance to grow as a person and everything, and as an athlete. And so I continue to learn myself every day in this sport. Every time that I train, and I learn something new, and it's constantly a challenge for me and just having fun with it. So, I mean, I'm growing more mentally than anything, and I think that's one big thing in the sport. I mean, you got to have a strong mentality in order to be successful with this.
All right. Now, being a full-time fighter and doing this for a living, you clearly have sponsors and teams and groups and coaches that are helping you out. You want to talk about any of your sponsors or let us know how anybody's helping you out there?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I have some great people that stand behind me. One of my main sponsors, Dr. Tiffany Graham with Maximize Living, she has been phenomenal. I got connected with her after The Ultimate Fighter. I mean, when I fought that fight with Justin Duke, I broke my hand, and I just was sustaining injuries left and right. And from compensating, I caused more injuries. So I went from a hand injury to an elbow injury to a shoulder injury into a neck injury, and then I had a knee injury. And it's just, I've gone to the doctor. I've done the physical therapy, everything that you can think of, and I just constantly had pain and whatnot. And with Maximize Living and the care that she's been giving me, she actually just went to the store. She did like a EMG or I don't exactly remember what it is, but pretty much like an EKG on your spine. And it checks what nerve damage you may have. And ever since then, she's adjusted me the way that I need to be adjusted, and then she's done my nutrition. And I feel like a whole different person. I mean, I haven't had no injuries. I feel just 100% amazing. So I want to definitely send a thank you to her, because without her, I'd probably be on 10 times longer of a break than what I'd really need now.
Well, then we all want to thank her.
Yeah, right.
Now,
and then, I mean, as far as, like, my coaches and training partners, you know, I have, being a female athlete out of Colorado, I do like to travel around and get a lot of training from so many different people. So, I mean, I want to thank all the gyms that are up in Denver, Fusebox, Stereo Box. I mean, there's Grudge, all kinds of places that I go. And then the gyms down here, Team Victory, and my coaches, Yako and Michael Sullivan, and I don't even know. The list goes on for days. All my teammates.
Well, if people wanted to keep up with what you're doing and what you're, where you're headed, how can they find you on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram? You want to put those out there?
I definitely need to create an Instagram. I've been a little lazy with that one. But, I mean, you can find me on Facebook. My fan page is Raquel Pennington.